Today we brought together three people with completely different beliefs.
I'm a Christian.
I am Hindu.
At the moment, I'm just following myself, my inner voice, let's call it.
And they're going up against three student teachers of Dr. Malachi Z. York.
You can't make a mistake and then be upset with himself for making a mistake if he knows everything and knows how to make things perfectly.
Boy, you have to speak to God on this one.
You have to speak to him.
It's in your scriptures.
Wait. Is this, when you say I have to speak to him, is it a designated time that you can speak to him? Or can you speak to him right now?
Right now.
Can you ask him?
I will be reading out statements from the student teachers. If you disagree, raise your flag.
If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications.
Raise your flag if you disagree. Jesus was married and had children.
I would just like to know more about the statement.
Are you familiar with the Bible and the story?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know about the wedding in Cana?
Yeah.
Whose wedding was it? See, most people don't know because they don't tell you.
Okay.
That was actually his wedding. And the reason you know is because of when you start to read the whole story, it's like there was a wedding in Cana and Jesus attended. And when you start to follow the details, it's like, why is he being asked about the problems of the wedding? If he's a guest, he wouldn't be the one that Mary will come up to him and say like, the wine is running out. And then that's supposedly his first miracle, right? Where he turned water into wine, you see. But as you go on throughout the story, you start to see that his wife, who was, they say Mary Magdalene, but it's really a mistranslation from the word Magdala, okay? But she was his wife because when you study Jewish traditions, only a wife can do certain things, like rub his feet with oil. Like, for example, in order for you to be a teacher and be called a Rabboni, yeah, in Jewish law, you have to be married to be a rabbi to teach. So there are many things that you start to unfold when you look at the whole story and put it all together. And he did have children as well.
The wedding in Cana of Galilee, you find that in John chapter 3. And if you go to Acts 13, reading from 1, you read of how it talks about a character by the name of Simon Bar Jesus. And they don't tell you that word bar, it's unusual they use the word bar because that bar is a Hebrew word meaning son. So when they say Simon Bar Jesus, it should be Simon, son of Jesus. You see, it's why they deliberately left that word in the Hebrew. Why not just say, yes, Simon, son of Jesus? Then people start to click, oh, Simon, son of Jesus, and then it will raise questions as well. So did Jesus have children? Well, according to that, he did. That was his son. Also, like Saken pointed out, that there's certain things that a woman cannot do to a man, unless they're married, and that takes place. You find that in Matthew or John, where Jesus is crucified. Then Mary went to attend to the body of Jesus. Only a wife can do that, to attend to the body and to anoint the body, to do certain, you follow? So these are certain traditions that's only ascribed for a female to do. Would have to be a close relative or his wife. So when you start to add these connected dots, you realize that Jesus was not a single man. He had children, he had two wives in actuality, and Saken said that her name was Mary Magdala. Magdala is an ancient city or town in Egypt.
If you're enjoying the content so far, like and comment.
You just try to explain me what's the purpose of the universe or life.
So life is discovering your potential. So your purpose is to master this physical plane and to learn, and basically in order for you to evolve to the higher states, you have to discover your hidden potential and to master this realm. And that means you have to learn about what you're calling life. How does life begin? What is life? And when you do that, you start to realize that you get to a point where you're dealing with energy, vibration, and frequencies. And then when you apply that to the universe, you look at how did the universe come to be? Where did it start? And you will be told of something called a Big Bang. This is how it relates to sound, vibration, and frequency. Because once there's a bang, it sets in motion the chain of life. So sound always is, and then it goes from sound to light to colors, because then color comes from darkness, where it says in the religious books, God said, let there be light. So there was darkness, then light came, and light is put through a prism to separate it into different colors, which are different vibrations and frequencies. And then those slow down in vibration to become what we call things in the physical world. And you are one of those things that come from the light, which comes from the darkness. So your journey is to work your way back to where you came from. And you do that by your current situation where you are now. You have to learn that environment, master it, to understand energy, as I said. And then you realize that as an energy being, you have to go back to the source. But the source is where we go to teach you, because we are those beings that were in the darkness as the supreme beings. And then we understand and understand how things come and slow down in vibration to being in the physical. So in all your religious books, in all endeavors in life, they teach you that there is something higher or something before, and it starts off with creation. The problem is that the distortion of religions tells you that there was a being that just appeared from nowhere, and that's where creation starts. But then because we were there before creation, we then teach that existence is before creation. So we existed in the form of gases, right, known as ether, which is the combination of all the existing gases, conscious gases and conscious gases. But because people have been cut away from that, so far away from that original source of us being etheric beings, they only go to a book or to a creation story. And that's why they're limited in terms of knowing the birth of the universes, not just one universe. But you know, we can expound on that, or if my brothers want to elaborate on what I've said, then we can do that.
You touched on a Big Bang as a source of all creation, and
Not all creation.
No,
Multiple.
multiple.
Yeah.
Because
And the one universe.
that's the different. Yeah, that's a good concept.
Yeah.
Multiple.
You are actually universe yourself.
Yeah.
Your being is a universe. See what I'm saying? And have you ever heard of the term macrocosm and
yeah, of course.
microcosm?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are as above, so below. Everything has a reflection of the microcosm.
Yeah.
And you're just a reflection of that in this dimensional, that realm that you're in, this plane that you're of existence that you're in. You see, so being that you're multi-dimensional being, you exist here as well as in other dimensions.
Yeah.
So you are actually a universe in yourself. Yeah, and that universe is connected to the multiverse.
Yes, it is.
Understand?
Exactly. Yeah. You're just a tiny little fragment, tiny little copy of
Fractal, that's right.
fractal
Yeah,
of
exactly.
everything, because that's the nature of it.
If you'd like to be part of a future video, email us at info@osmvision.co.uk.
There are actually 3 different Jesus characters in that story, and their stories are all mixed up, and this is why people get confused, because Happy Ray pointed out one, which is Bar Jesus, which means the son of Jesus, from Mary Magdalene and him. But you also have somebody else called Cleophas, who is also the son of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. And then you have the real Jesus himself, whose name is Yeshua in the Hebrew, because again, there were no J's or V's in Hebrew, so you can't make up a name like Jesus. So the J would be replaced by a Y, hence Yeshua, which is the Savior. So these three people's stories mixed up into one in the Bible. So sometimes you see one is like behaving in a particular manner, like when they see him without any clothes by the river, and then another time he's saying, let's get swords and get money and buy swords in preparation for the war with the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin, etc. So there's like, if you look at the characters, one is kind of militant, one is very passive, and one is just very basically like a rebel. Yeah.
So do you think there's 3 different Jesuses then? Or do you think...
Let me just, yeah. So
Or do you think they're just different names?
No. What Sir Ken is, and I don't want to overstep what he's explained. They're composite characters. So it's a composite. So imagine you have you, your sister, your brother. You got 3 of you, okay? And the story's written about you 3, your siblings, your sisters.
Yeah.
But then, years later, generations later, they've composed all those 3 characters into one character. Does that make sense? Yeah, so he's a composite character. And then they added the ghost aspect to it too when they came into the Romans. When the Romans then became the Roman Catholic Church, they added the ghost aspect where they talk about your Jesus being, born of a divine Mary and the Holy Ghost and stuff. So they added certain aspects, but initially is a composite character. And there was 3 different people. So Justus, Cleophas, that's one character, Yeshua, and then you had the Simon Bar Jesus. So Simon Bar Jesus, he died. He was, stoned to death, okay? And then you had Cleophas, who became your Saint Isa. So when you hear about Saint Isa, who traveled to India and other areas and then was teaching, that is your Cleophas, who was the son of Cleopatra or Mark Antony. Do you follow? Yeah?
I mean, I don't agree with everything, but
No,
certain things I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Check it out. That's what through our teachings, and Dr. Malkazir Jork, who's our teacher, and our spiritual guide on Warner, he's always taught us, don't believe what he teaches, because he wants you to be part of the learning process. So in order for you to learn and to understand what you're actually being told, you have to go and seek information and research it for yourself. You know what I mean? Many people are left with the belief, you know what I mean, and then they don't go any further, to go and actually investigate. And that's what we say, investigate for yourself.
If you've made it this far, that's fantastic. It means you're taking in the content. So the most important parts are generally at the end. So don't skip, stay with it, and make sure that you comment.
Raise your flag if you disagree. Hindus are not from Earth.
Okay, that's an interesting statement, especially when you look on all the depictions in old Hindu stories. They show the chariots in the skies. They show the lightning bolts shoot at the enemies. They are from the other place, because people can't fly normally in earthly conditions, unless on British Airways.
So you believe they're from Earth or not?
I believe, no, I'm just researching, and it shows that life on Earth is not from Earth. It come here in, let's say, rescue mission or seeking new places for living, something like this. And the more the more I read, the more evidence I can find.
Who made that statement?
I did. Okay. Yeah. So when you talk about, you heard of a place? There's a group actually called Nirvana. Yeah, it's like a rock group.
Yeah.
Nirvana. Yeah, and it means a place where you go into a high elevated state. Do you get what I'm saying? Or origin. Okay. Nirvana is actually a place where beings have come from. It's in a galaxy. You understand?
Right.
So when you read about you got the Upanishads. You know about the Upanishads? Okay, because you said you're Hindu.
I'm
isn't it?
Hindu.
You're Hindu, yeah. So I'm asking you, you know about the Upanishads? Okay.
No, no.
So you got the Upanishads. You can research this.
Okay.
You got the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Yeah, you know about that, yeah? And they talk about certain incidences that took place, wars, etc. Yeah, in the Mahabharata. Okay,
Ramayana.
yeah, so you know all about all of that. You hear about Krishna. Yeah, you hear about Vishnu and Shiva and all of these beings, okay? What you have to realize is these beings were beings from other worlds that were seeking refuge or came to this world many, many millions of years ago and established the Hindu culture that you know today. So when you talk about Brahma and Shiva and stuff, they were incarnations onto this realm. Does that make sense? Yeah? You hear about crafts called Vimanas. These are all crafts that have come to this realm from other star systems.
Star system. Right.
Does that make sense?
So this was way before.
This is way before. So they established the Hindu culture
Okay.
on this planet. And when you read the stories, they talk about Ganesha and beings have 4 arms, 4 legs, and other or wings, etc. And some were warriors, some were demons. All of these
Right.
written in a story form, but really and truly they talk about beings that had certain abilities, or they were doing genetic manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Just what I'm saying, when they came here, yeah, from their world. So Procyon, there's a place called Procyon, which means before the dog in Greek. Yeah, it's the Canis Major or the Canis Minor star system. And when you look at the word Canis Major and Canis Minor, you're talking about beings that were there that were of a hairy trait. Okay, these hairy traits is what you find predominantly in the Hindus, because they're very quite hairy people. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is not a racial thing. This is something that you observe and you study. You find out that the hairy trait that has happened is because there's beings that are coming here. Even you can go into the Sumerian records. There's a being called Enkidu. Yeah, Enkidu was a creature that was grafted with using genetics, and they came from these star systems. So when we made that statement, you have to look at the books that is written by the Hindu culture and not just take it as just stories. Do you know what I'm saying? As we were talking about the Bible, etc., because they're written in such a way that it looks like it's just fantasy. Do you know what I mean? Written in a fantasy kind of way. But actually got the Hindu pantheon. The Hindu pantheon talks about all these Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, etc., and Krishna, because they were actually beings that came from other worlds to this planet.
I'm 28. I've lived 28 years in this earth, and I'm Hindu. My parents are Hindu. My question currently at this age, in 28, is there life after death? That was my question, prior to coming here. But now my question is like,
Is there life after life?
yeah, what to
that's
do?
what-
What's the right way to live the life?
Wusabat. But you may not know what that is. So Wusabat is our ancient culture and way of life that our ancestors practiced, and they were in tune with nature. And if you have to think of a religion, we call that being an animist, which is one who is one with nature, in tune with nature, studies nature, learns to be a part of nature, and ultimately return back to nature. And that nature has different states of vibration. So when you look at nature around you, it manifests as healthy. Like the color green refers to the vegetation, the fruits, the trees, because they're vibrating on the green light. Okay, but then without knowing that, you reduce your vibration to coming down to just being like mortal or physical being, and forget about the essence of you, the real you, which is what we're calling that energy being, like that has different levels of vibration, your spirit, your soul, your mental, your etheric being. And the object is really to get back in tune and in connection with nature. But the best way of life is called Pataruk, which means the way in our language. because you have many ways, but you have the best or the ultimate way to live. And that's part Taruk. That's something you learn more about as you learn more about what we teach. So you're trying to reconnect with the source. My brother Habtui said that we call that the all expanding in English, because that's the best way we can explain it in English, being very limited in tones, vibration and frequency. So it's about getting back in tune with that way of life. We can go into more details in terms of how you should live. We spoke about, you know, what you put into your body, who you call on, what you intake, the tones you use, because they have vibration and frequency that affect you, who you're speaking to, who you're calling on for help and, you know, guidance and assistance. We have one amongst us who we refer to as Pa Nababianun, known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who is the incarnation of the highest being who religions call God. In their books, they refer to him by many titles, like the angel Michael, like the green one, Al-Khadir, or Tahuti, or Thoth, or, you know, there are many titles for him, but he's a being that is known as an avatar or avatara, which is a Hindu word, incidentally, which means ilal mutajasid, which is an Arabic rendition of that, which basically means to be an incarnation on this planet. So coming from those high levels, he's able to come here and manifest there, and he's able to channel other beings that work together with him. And one of those beings is Yanun. That's why we say Pa Nabab Yanun. So that's the supreme being that has 720 degrees of knowledge, which is symbolic of having two circles of 360 degrees. One is a physical world, everything you see, touch, and, you know, by way of perception. But then you have another circle of 360 degrees, which is the unseen world, what people say spiritual, etc. When you put those two together, 360 plus 360, you get 720 degrees. And when you go to university, they teach you to have 1 degree. So you still have 719 degrees to go, you see. But the more you learn, the more you master the world around you, you start to learn how, as you say, how to live, what to do, and what not to do, so you can find your way back home.
I'd like to add to that as well, is the best way to live would be in conformity to your culture. And meaning that your culture is your means of identification. It identifies who and what you are. Your culture is everything. The language you speak, the food, the music, the dance, everything is under the umbrella of culture. And as you said before, even the deities that you represent, that, you know, that you should be in communication with, or your ancestors, all that is under culture. So what happens is people who do not identify with their culture, because every race has their own culture. When people don't identify with their own culture or with their own identity, they adopt a foreign culture, and that word is called acculturation. So they adopt a culture that's not their own and try to amalgamate that with their own culture, so they're living like double lives or whatever. See, so what's the best way to live is according to your culture. At the Sabbath with Wu Sabbath, the master says that we're not here to take people away from their culture. You need right knowledge, so you know this is, for me to communicate with my deities, this is what I need to do, based upon my own voice box, my tones, etc., etc. So the master teacher has given us our own language, Mispatia, because it resonates with our being, with our genetic makeup, with our DNA. So you have your culture and you have your language that resonates with your voice box, your DNA, your tones, your frequencies, your vibrations, your ancestors and your deities. This is how important culture is. So to answer the question, what's the best way of life for anybody, is according to their culture. Right knowledge is like a catalyst to help you make that connection with your inner being and your ancestors, etc., etc.
If God is perfect everything he does is perfect, then there can't be any imperfections.
That's not true.
So where did imperfection come in?
We're not meant to be perfect. God is perfect, and we try.
Are we in the
as
image
human
and likeness
beings.
of God?
Yes, but we try as human beings, but we're never gonna.
Yeah, but if we're in the
fully-
image and likeness of God, because
Yeah.
he created us in his image and likeness, then that means if he's imperfect, we will be imperfect if we're in his image and likeness.
Yeah.
You follow me? Right, so he's imperfect then.
No.
That's not making sense. If God is perfect and we're in his image and his likeness, we should be perfect.
We should be, but
Right, if we're not, that means if we're in his image and likeness, he's not perfect. And I'm trying to explain to you that this is because the gods that you're talking about are your Enki and Enlil. They're imperfect. They're agreeable and disagreeable, which means most translate as good and bad. That's why people that have this image of a perfect God that knows everything, that can't make mistakes, it's wrong, because he said it grieved him for creating man. So either he didn't know he was going to create man to go wrong, which means he doesn't know everything, or if he did know everything and he created man and then he was grieved by his own creation, that means he made a mistake. You can't make a mistake and then be upset with himself for making a mistake if he knows everything and knows how to make things perfectly.
boy, you have to speak to God on this one.
You have to speak to him.
It's in your
Wait. Is this, when you say I have to speak to him, is it a designated time that you can speak to him? Or can you speak to him right now?
Right now.
Can you ask him?
What do you want me to ask?
Did he make a mistake when he grieved in his heart?
But you can ask yourself.
But, we're
But
trying
we
to
don't
explain
claim to
you
speak to
that
God
the
like
of
the
your
way
Bible
you're saying. Yeah.
is your Enki and Enlil. They're two different natures. That's what we're trying to explain to you. That these concepts that you believe in are taken from ancient concepts and then being brought into the European concept and giving you a God character. Do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
But
so-
I think that Christianity started from Ethiopia, though. I don't really believe.
Where did Ethiopia start from?
Hmm?
Where did Ethiopia start from?
What do you mean? Like what country?
I'm saying, you said you believe that Christianity started from Ethiopia. But what's the word Ethiopia in the Bible?
Have you ever looked it up? It's the word Cush.
Cush. You know who Cush is?
From Egypt, yeah.
There you go. That's why I said to you, the God comes from Egypt. When you're talking about God, you're talking about ancient Egyptian deities. Amun is one of the ones I gave you that you can find in Revelation 3:14. Why everyone that prays to God ends their prayers with Amun or Amen or Amin, because they're giving reverence to the ancient Egyptian God, who we are descendants of by
Yeah, I believe
DNA and everything.
We are descendants
Right.
of Egyptians.
Click here to watch the full video, which includes a 3 versus 1 from each person and more statements from the student teachers. Comment below some actual facts from Dr. Malachi Z. York and share this video with at least 9 people.